I do apologise for my rather rancid mood, but the weather itself is also quite rancid. Got myself a rather large cup of espresso here as well, so let's get cracking. Thought I'd give you a review now of the two movies I saw yesterday at the cinema. Those movies are The Hole in 3D and Resident Evil Afterlife, also in 3D. I'll very quickly whiz over my thoughts on The Hole. The Whole 3D, directed by Joe Dante, who did Gremlins and Small Soldiers and The Howling and the original Piranha as well. He hasn't been around since doing Looney Tunes Back in the Action. The thing that struck me about The Whole, the only impact that it had on me was that it had really no impact. It wasn't just the fact that it was breezy, it just didn't have any staying power. It was instantly forgettable. It's remarkable just how unremarkable the film is. If you were to ask me at the end of the year, what were your favourite films of the year? What movies did you see this year? I'd probably completely forget that I've even seen The Hole. You know, bunch of kids find a hole that leads to hell, that creates their deepest, darkest fears. All manner of spooky things happen, and the spooky bits in the film are quite spooky, I have to say. It's nothing that hasn't been seen before. The kids look bored during the course of it. So, quick roundup of The Hole. I'd only give it probably about 2.5 out of 5, average rating, I suppose. So, moving on to Resident Evil Afterlife in 3D. That kind of hurt. Now, I remember whilst catching an episode of The X Factor last year, those annoying Irish twins with the really big hair. What were they called? Jedward, I think they were called. I remember it had been in the press quite a lot that they'd been getting very scathing remarks from Simon Cowell. It reached a point where when they asked Simon what he thought about things, he just said, that was kind of good. It didn't mean that those kids had gotten any better with their performances. It meant that he'd hit a brick wall with them as such, that he was marking them within their boundaries, so to speak. And to say that that was kind of good was, similar to saying that a really bad movie in a long line of really bad movies is actually better than the previous really bad movies. And that is exactly what I thought of Resident Evil Afterlife. The series cannot possibly get any worse than Resident Evil Apocalypse, which to this date has still remains in my top 5, even my top 3 most hated movies ever made. My feelings on the first one was that I'd done farts more entertaining than that. Missed Extinction completely because I thought I've got better things to do with my life. Because I've now got an unlimited pass for my local cinema, I figured I'd give Resident Evil Afterlife a go. I kind of came out of them doing the Simon Cowell. That was kind of good. I want to stress here that Resident Evil Afterlife in no way is a good film. In fact, the best bits are the downtime where people aren't really doing much apart from talking about, oh, woe is me, the world is covered in zombies, oh, we're lucky to be alive, oh, no. It wasn't as terrible as I thought it would be. I still had massive problems with it. Still sitting there shouting there complaining, like the action scenes were so loud. That's kind of what I felt like in the first 10 minutes. After the first 10 minutes, you're kind of introduced to this other wealth of Z-grade actors. To be fair, Milla Jovovich is a Z-grade actor herself. I mean, she's got stuff like the Resident Evil franchise, Ultraviolet, and The Fourth Kind on her CV. To be fair, the 3D work in it was terrific. I mean, I really thought the 3D was very good. In the ad campaign, it kept saying how Resident Evil Afterlife was filmed with the same 3D technology used for James Cameron's Avatar. And the funny thing is, the fact that it keeps saying that it uses the same stuff as Avatar, the same 3D technology as Avatar, it doesn't actually mean the film's going to be any good. That's like me saying, I've just written a horror novel using Stephen King's original typewriter that he used when he wrote Salem's Lot. That doesn't mean that my horror story is going to be any good. It's the action scenes that really let the movie down. The action scenes are just absolutely atrocious. I mean, they make a big deal at the beginning about the fact that Wesker takes away the T-virus out of her body, and therefore she is not as powerful as she used to be. They don't make a massive big point of this afterwards. She's still able to kick creatures that are 10 times bigger than her 50 feet across a room. What? They've got the big executioner guy from Resident Evil 5 in it. He's got an axe that's about the size of Bulgaria, and he himself is about the size of Norway. Him and Claire Redfield are having a fight, but literally the fight, if it had been in normal speed, would have taken all of about 10 seconds. It's shot in a slow motion that is so slow, the whole scene goes on kind of a bit like this. There's Claire. Claire's running across the room. Bad guy's there, running across the room. It kind of goes like this. It's just this painfully dragged out sequence where it's supposed to be, this moment of tension, and it's just literally as Claire looks up, Claire looks down, Claire notices a shotgun, Claire looks up, Beastie's still turning, she looks down, sees shotgun, looks up again, Beastie's still turning. But that's not how you make an action movie. The thing is just to make sure that the audience isn't getting bored, and to be fair, I was getting painfully bored at times. Literally, if someone is doing something as innocuous as walking, from A to B, in the time, it'll be quiet in this kind of moody kind of... And then, as soon as a moment of, movement starts, it goes... And they're just walking from one place to another. And it just happens all the time in this series. I don't understand. Someone turns their head and it goes... And then just goes back to normal when they finish turning their head. Is that just to make sure that people aren't falling asleep in the audience? They might know that the audience is falling asleep, actually, just in case. The guy who was selling me the ticket was having an argument with a guy who actually liked the film. The guy was like saying, yeah, but just take it as trashy fun and that's it. And the guy was saying, but they don't take it as trashy fun. Whilst they're making it, they take it deadly seriously. If they treated these movies as trashy fun, and trust me, I read the original Resident Evil scripts done by George Romero back in '98, which is based properly on the video game, and that is playing it as trashy fun. Whereas these don't. They do just take themselves way too seriously. And it just doesn't work. And it's just flat, formulaic. This is me having a rant, but this is me just being tame compared to some of my major rants. You should have heard me at the end of Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. I'm still reeling from the anger of that film. It is the Simon Cowell liking the lesser Jedward performance. It was a simple case of... It just made me slightly miffed as opposed to flat out angry. I use the word like lightly. I didn't like this film. I thought it was crap. But it was better than the other two. So it warrants a 2, maybe a 2.5 out of 5 rating. They do leave this one blatantly open for a 5th one. It's as my friend David said, if any film series is worthy of a reboot, it's the blimmin' Resident Evil franchise. Bring it back to the haunted house, creepy zombie aesthetic from the games. Just do it that way. Please, for the love of God. I'm going to quietly go this way and now bang my head up against the wall. And I will speak to you guys later. I'm off to see Buried this evening, the Ryan Reynolds movie. Anyway, adios. Ciao.
The way you made them suffer, your exquisite white mother, fills me with the urge to defecate.